Y'all, I have no idea if this location is going to work, but I moved over here because we're going to attempt to do a centerpiece, and I moved to the photo board so we can have a white background, but we'll see. We'll see. Y'all, I got here early. I was going to be organized. I was going to have stuff ready. And then I realized I was going to do a centerpiece. And then it was all downhill from there. All downhill. So I'm not ready. Mary, you didn't have a hard time. I literally just got here. All right, so this is a cement ceramic looking bowl. Why is this being wobbly? Right? I'm sure it's not real cement, but it looks like cement. Don't say thank you yet. We don't know if this is actually going to work. All right, y'all, the first thing that we have to do is get some foam in there. So the easiest way to do it is to put your foam down and then take your container and just try to get it where it's all the way on the foam and kind of press down a little bit. Just so you kind of get the little indentions of where your centerpiece needs to be. Y'all, now there are multiple ways to cut things, right? So you can either take your sharp blade and make an indentation in it, which is real fun on camera. Okay, then wherever you scored it, you just kind of pop it on the edge. You also need a sturdy table to do that, and my table is soft, so right, so wherever you score it, if you just put a little bit of pressure, that styrofoam will pop. You guys know I like toys, though. I like the gadgets. So for me, I have a little magic wand. This gets really hot, and it basically melts the styrofoam to cut it. So I'm going to figure out my cut. That's real pleasant. Then I'm going to use my little styrofoam cutter to just melt all the way around. Y'all, and you can get this styrofoam cutter at Walmart. You can get it from Amazon. You can get it probably from Michael's. You know where Walmart has the like styrofoam balls and stuff in the craft section? They have one of these there. I prefer the styrofoam cutter just because it's less mess. Anytime I try to cut the styrofoam, it's like flop, it's just everywhere. You can't stand the smell. Mine doesn't have a real strong smell. Y'all, and obviously I can't sketch very good because it's a little too big. Now, if I had multiple of these to do, it would have made a lot of sense to get out the spray foam and just spray foam all of them, right? Y'all, but I don't have a ton. And I didn't have a lot of bases to worry about. All right, I think we have enough shaved off that we can force it in there. Y'all, now look, this thing is super hot. So we are going to unplug it and get it removed from the table because we don't want to accidentally touch that, y'all. All right. Now, y'all, look, it's a little bit over in some places. I'm just going to try to get it worked down in there. So with it being a real nice, snug fit, you don't have to worry about it coming out. Y'all, we're not at the table. We're at the photo booth. So that's the plywood where we take our photos. This is a plastic table that I just picked up. Y'all look, we're not in the normal space. We're basically random place in the shop. Doreen, the Shopify training, you show up on Wednesday and for the Q&A. All right. So, the first thing that I like to do is cover the foam. Now, you can do that with Spanish moss or the nice pretty green moss. I happen to have this one handy. So, this is the one that I went with. Y'all, this, we just want to get a nice layer that covers all of the greens. I like using this moss because it leaves like a little more of an unperfect area. And I like to have this stuff that's dripping over the foam. I don't like the clean edge centerpieces. I'm going to use a U-pin. You get them out of the floral section to hold the foam, to hold the moss down. Claudette, whenever you go to a steakhouse, do you get to say, oh, I'm sorry, your menu's too pricey, you single out the poor people, or do they just not go eat there? And it also sounds like you're talking to people that aren't your customer, so why are you doing that? Do you get to go look at a $1 million house and be mad because you can't afford to buy it? Or do you not go look at it? Like, that point's irrelevant. Just do what you want to do and move on. Even better, blocker. All right, so little unfinished, uneven edged. That's the way that I like them done. Y'all, I almost got moss in my drink. I'm sure there's some in there. So if I choke, just be ready. Let's just open it up and inspect first, because there's a strand in there, y'all. All right. So, now whenever I do them, I like to find what is going to be my tallest point and work from that piece. I like this green. I like the twigs in it. I like all the stuff in it. I'm not a crazy fan of the bird nest. The bird nest always gets cut out when I use it for some reason. But let's just fluff this out a little bit and see what it looks like. All right, so I'm thinking, let me just zoom out. You guys will have to be patient with me. I'm thinking like this long twig here is going to be my center point. All right, so I'm pulling all my twigs out and away from the center. So that it's nice and full. I'm pretty sure the birdhouse is gonna go, y'all. All right, and also I don't need this much of a stem when our whole base is only this big, right? So I'm gonna cut it down to probably about here. And this much will be in the foam. This stem is too thick for my wire cutters. Y'all, hopefully our table doesn't fall. Y'all, I have the table balanced on a tote because it was too short. So we're working it. We're working it. All right. Dip it in the glue pot. center it. Y'all. That thing's gonna get on my nerves. I'm out. All right. And we're done. We're gonna call it modern. I'm just kidding. But for real, there's people that would pay for just that. It's a crazy world we live in, y'all. Okay, next. Okay, let me also caveat by saying that whenever I used to do a lot of centerpieces, I never used, okay, except for maybe something like this piece, but after this piece, I would never use new bushes. I would basically, whenever I finished making a grapevine wreath that I used florals on, and I had 1 or 2 florals left over, I threw them all in a bucket. And then I would take those buckets of flowers and I would turn them into arrangements or lantern swags, stuff like that. In this case, I don't have that storage tote anymore, so we are going to be using some new stuff. But I couldn't decide if I wanted to go with white magnolias or a cream color. Or this brick red. But normally, all I would have is, you know, maybe these 3 stems left over from another project, and that's what I would use to create with. The red, I don't know what the other color, like, we'll have to see. We'll try the red. Right? So if you can turn your scraps into floral arrangements or lantern swags, guess what? You have a lot of profit in that, right? All right. Now, one thing that you want to make sure that you do is don't just leave those stems straight. You're going to want to give them a little bit of a curl. And determine the overall height. Right? So are we going to go taller, keep them really short? I like this height right here. Gonna get it pushed on down. All right, then you have to decide, okay, so for me, this is going to be my center focal right here. This one's a little smashed, y'all. right. So, how would you secure this in a box to ship it? What I would do is get bubble wrap and start with the smallest point, wrap it really tight all the way down until it got to a certain width that was the same as the box. Y'all, now to figure out what other greens we're going to use. Because I pulled 2 different colors of greens for the 2 different stems. See how this one looks like real neon against the red? But it's not. If I put it with the cream, it looks normal. But with the red, it looks bright green. So we have to be mindful of that. So this one is a darker, lightly flocked. So whenever it's with the red, it's going to look more realistic. This one is a nice hand-wrapped floral, so it just tears apart, which is always fun. The magnolias, everything that we're using tonight is from Deco Exchange. Trim these down. All right, so we have our little stem. We're going to get it nice and fluffed out. Y'all, now none of your stems can just be, like, we're not gonna leave any of them just straight, y'all. We're going to keep curving everything so that it looks more realistic. And now we're going to start filling in between where we have our little pieces. And I got to figure out which pieces are going to go where, y'all. The number for the greenery, it might be 80939. Nope, I'm lying. It's right here, still on the thing. It's 61450. Y'all, if you have a pick machine, sometimes your best bet on some of this hand-wrapped greenery is going to be to put a pick in it. Mainly just to make sure that it doesn't keep unwrapping. Also, because it's hand-wrapped, every one of these stems are individual stems. Can you see that? So this one, like, it's harder to get this into the hard styrofoam. So I like to just cut them short and then use our pick machine to number one, let the pick secure it and hold it all together. And then it also makes it really easy for it to go into the foam. Now, one thing that I will tell you guys, if you're using your pick machine, these are extremely sharp. And if you dip them in hot glue, they get really hot. So it's a good practice to use your needle nose pliers. Okay, so how many of y'all know, this is going to sound really bad. I'm already seeing it play out in my head, right? This, you're pushing it kind of hard to go into the styrofoam. You have a good grip in it. Suddenly, the little blade cuts into the styrofoam and your finger gets pushed down real fast, right? All that hot glue that's on your tip gets pushed up the stem onto your fingers. So it's a good idea. You can get it started a little bit if you want. Then take your needle nose pliers and grip it and push it all the way in. That way, if it does slip, you don't get hot glue all over your fingertips. It happens quite a bit. I did find that out the hard way. All right, now look, we want to make sure that our arrangement kind of stays somewhat in the pot. Unless you're going for something way over the top, then you have to do it way over the top on all sides. Y'all, whenever I was first making centerpieces, and I was not a good judge of lopsidedness, this is what I did. I took circles, perfect circles, and I drew them on my cutting mat on the back side. So on the back of my cutting mat, I had about an 8-inch circle, 10-inch circle, and then I even had one that was an oval. That way I could put my centerpiece right in the center of the circle and then build out. And I knew that my arrangement had to stay within that circle on all sides so that it made more sense. Wet foam crumbles unless it stays wet. So I wouldn't use wet foam on a dry centerpiece personally. Right? So that way, like if this stick right here was way outside of my circle, I knew to just come in and just kind of bend it up a little bit. Y'all, I had an oval on the table, and I used that for table centerpieces and stuff like that. It worked really well. I still have that cutting mat somewhere in the shop. All right. So now I want to make sure I build up behind it. So this one I'm going to leave longer so that we get a little bit more of that height and the greens up here. So if you needed to, y'all, you could take something like this stem. Y'all, we need floral tape. The one thing I didn't grab. Y'all, let me go grab floral tape. All right, so I'm going to take a stem, and I'm going to take a stem that we cut off the bottom of another stem, put them side by side, and wrap them with floral tape. Y'all, floral tape gets sticky as you pull it. It's the weirdest, it's magic. It also really gets on my nerves. So I try not to use it 90% of the time. But you have to pull it a little bit to like activate the stickiness for some reason. I'm not a fan of it, just to be. Nothing about it makes me happy. But you can make, you know, a floral pick. All right, now I'm gonna pick the other end. So I wanted to get just a little bit more of the greens to fill up at a higher point in the piece. All right, y'all, now we're gonna go work down and fill in this area down here. Yeah, I don't like the way floral tape looks either. I don't think anyone really does. All right, so this one is going to be like some really cool little filler pieces, but it's too early for this one. This one is a nice filler, but it's a little too plastic to match everything else, right? So can you guys see that? It's a little plasticky. This one is also plastic, but it's got a rough textured edge on the outside. So we may steal a few pieces of this to add in here once we fill it in a little bit more. All right. So I've got this piece. I like everything, but I'm not a fan of the bright green hydrangeas on it. So I'm going to cut those out. I like it the way it is, but this right here just needs a little bit more in it. Right? I like the top half, but you can still see through the base. So we're going to get just a little bit of that filled in. All right, so y'all, even this piece, I think this is a little too clustered for that bright green. I like it on this one, not so much on these for the color. If I would have used the white, I would have used it. All right, so see how these are all kind of long between the spike and the flower tips? Y'all, I'm gonna take all of those, bend them down and bend them back up. That way the flowers are closer to the base. Right, because my goal is to get this filled in lower, so I don't need a real tall plant. So I just made it a lot smaller by bending in those edges. And I'm going to get this placed right down here in the front. Y'all, we've got a piece of green. I'm going to use these pieces to just cover a little bit of this base structure back here. Right? So just all the way down to the base, just to cover some of your mechanics in the back. Y'all, I always do my flower arrangements one-sided. But just those two little scrap pieces are enough to cover that piece. And whenever you look at it from the front, that extra green in the back is going to keep your eyes from going all the way through. All right, now, the next thing that I like to do is take vine-looking pieces. So this is a vine from Michael's. I'm going to cut one vine off. Y'all, it's all tangled up. Nothing like untangling some vines with some friends. Alright, we almost got one freed. Jeez. Got it freed. Alright. So this is the base that we cut off the stem. I'm going to fold this in half to get it a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to put a pick on here. Okay, y'all, then I'm going to travel a little bit down the piece. Maybe we don't have to pick it. We'll see. All right, work this towards the base. All right, then I want you to pull your vine back up into it. U-pin. And U-pin a couple of those stems together right on the edge. So you've got a nice little vine cluster with that little tip of the vine hanging out the side. Y'all, we're going to figure out how to make this stay up here a little bit higher. All right, y'all, I really want this piece to be folded like that. So what I'm going to do is glue it, maybe. If I have something we can put glue on, because I did not bring the glue gun. So we're going to use a pick that was on the floor. All right, so I don't want this piece touching the table. I want it to be, oh, you know what we can do? Wait, I grabbed. What I grabbed? Maybe I didn't grab. Hang on. All right, so this is a floral pick. Susan, I was gonna U-pin it, but I need it to be up here. So I'm gonna use a floral pick with the little wire. And I'm gonna hide the wire right behind the leaf. Y'all, and then I'll just work that pick in there where I want it, to where this hangs down, right? So I wanted that hang down, but I didn't want it to touch the table, right? So my hand can now freely pass between the table and that piece that I wanted to hang down. Does that make sense? All right. Also, on the base of every vine, y'all, they have the little bushes that were not on the long vine piece. So we're going to steal 2 of those. All right. So because I have this color variegated leaves right here, I want to get a little bit of that variation or variegation over there. Tracy, it's the same way in this. Like, why did I make this bright silver? Why isn't this green? Y'all, now, one thing that we could have done is put more flowers in it. So we could bring another flower down here towards the bottom. So another red down here. Now that makes me want another bud up here. Right? So look, we need another bud, like right there. So let's figure out how to make that bud happen. Do we have any more stems? We've got this one. We need the floral tape. All right, so same process. We're going to put these 2 together. Jennifer, you would just wrap it in bubble wrap and then put it into a box. Y'all, I am going to cover more of this stem, though, because it's 2 different greens. Not really a fan of that. All right, now it's way too long, I'm sure. Once again, we're going to curve our stem a little bit. Not too long. Because we were able to curve that stem, that looks good. Y'all, it's hard to get it where I can see what we need to do and what you guys can see what we need to do. It's always fun. The fingers are nice and sticky. Yay. All right, now this is where, right, so after we got our main floral stem in there, we gave it a little bit of texture, we filled it in with our flowers. Y'all, this is when I would have really started digging in that scrap box, looking for like just a couple of random, like if I could have found this in the scrap box, just like this, I've been so ecstatic. Like, perfect. Just a little random something to add a little bit of character in it. Right? Like, it's just a random leaf. But it looks so different than everything else on the project. And I would have just nestled it down in there. It's where you can just kind of see like that random little leaf, right? We're going to put another one like right here. Get it bent a little bit so it doesn't look so fake. Now, listen, I would not recommend going buy 30 brand new stems unless you're going to break those brand new stems up over multiple centerpieces, right? But like what we're doing here right now, I'm going to have a lot of scraps left over from this project. Y'all, does everything look better with a feather? Susan wants to know if we need to glue before we add. If I was going to ship this, I would definitely glue it in. Right, so I like that this brings in just that little bit of tan and dark color. Y'all, mainly I have not been gluing because the glue would make my arm go in front of the camera over and over again, and it's just not necessary for this piece. If I was going to sell this piece, I would be gluing every pick into it for sure. So I want to get my feathers as high up on this one as possible, because I want to get this one up here at the top. Y'all, there's like a little break in the stem right here. So I'm going to do my best to get this stem to wedge into there so that we don't have to piece another one together. It's going to work. It's going to work. Just going to hold that there for a second. Why are you working with chicken wire? All right, there we go. So everything that we do in one spot, we want to make sure that we bring it into some type of triangle pattern, right? So 1, 2, 3. Our flowers, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, right? Like we can keep making a triangle over and over again with all of our pieces, our sticks. 1, 2, 3. Y'all, there's just a random leaf on the table. I'm just going to add it right in here to cover that moss. That's the angle that I want you guys to see, I think. Oh, you like the supply box this month? Parker did pretty good, y'all. All right, y'all. This fake moss is my favorite. Y'all, does anyone else see magnolias and just think Southern? So when I started pulling out the magnolias, I saw the moss in the warehouse. And I thought, you know what? It might need just a little bit. So, gonna pick this, and I'm gonna get it right in the center and see if I like it. If I don't, we'll just pull it out, y'all. One, my finger's too fat for that. I don't like it. We're nixing the moss. I couldn't get it to do what I wanted to. So we just kicked it out. And now I can't get this flower to go back where it was. There we go. Y'all, if we had a cute little bird with some eggs or something, we could take our nest and add it back in there. But it's just not my thing. Like, I don't want no bird nest in my... I'm chasing that out of there. All right, y'all. I think it's done. Now, I will say that I wish I had some ivy. If I had some ivy, I would have it start down here and then just kind of work its way throughout. I'll show you what I mean with, well, this might work. All right, so let's pretend this was ivy. I would have the ivy like worked in here with some of the ivy hanging down this way, and then have the ivy coming up, wrapping into the centerpiece, and like ending up here. I don't think this one will do what I want it to do. So see how these leaves are really heavy? Your ivy leaves are not quite as thick. Right, so we would go right up through it. And then just kind of work it around until that ivy was worked all the way back up to the tip. So that way that variegated leaf is working all the way throughout, all the way up to the tip. It doesn't look bad, but it would have looked better if it was the ivy. What would I sell this for? I would probably sell this for like $120 to $130 if I had to guess. All right, now if we had to ship this, what I would do is take my bubble wrap and I would start with the flattest piece, so my backside. And I would add that bubble wrap there, and I would slowly wrap all of this nice and tight with bubble wrap. And whatever size box it was going to go in, like obviously this would be way too big, but if the base of the box was this big, if I was going to ship it in a box this big, I would take that bubble wrap and I would keep wrapping all the way around until the bubble wrap was completely the size of the box that it was going to ship in. Now, ideally, you would ship this in a 12 by 16, 12 by 12 by 16. And you would have it just completely wrapped in bubble wrap, so tight that it could not move in the box. If you wanted to, you could take some pipe cleaners and wrap them around this base and then secure that down to the box. I wouldn't. I would just completely secure it with bubble wrap so that it couldn't move, couldn't budge, and ship it like that. Y'all, this is an extra monthly box. All right, y'all. So, recap. We used our fun, handy-dandy little cutting tool to cut ourselves a circle out of the styrofoam. We wedged that styrofoam down into the bowl. We started with a really long, tall stem, this one, worked it down the center, fluffed it out so it built our whole shape. Then we went with our target eye-catching pieces, added those in. Then we just added a little bit of filler in between those pieces. Y'all, I want to challenge y'all to go find your scrap buckets and make something with your scraps. Whether it be a little small lantern swag, it could be a grapevine wreath, a centerpiece, a floral arrangement, something. Put the scraps to use, all right? Y'all, that's it. Have a good night. Bye, y'all.